right, today we're diving into the amazing story of Braille. You know, that system of raised dots? Well, its story is absolutely incredible, and it starts in a place you would never, ever expect. Not a school, not a library, but a battlefield.
Okay, so let me ask you something. How would you read a secret message in total, complete darkness? I mean, picture it. You're a soldier, it's pitch black. You get a critical order, but if you light a lamp, boom, you've just given away your position to the enemy. So what do? This was a real-life problem, and it's exactly where the story of Braille kicks off. Seriously, back in the early 1800s, this was a huge issue for the French army. Soldiers trying to read their orders at night were basically setting up a flare, telling the enemy exactly where they were. Talk about a major tactical problem, right? So along comes this guy, Charles Barbier, with a solution. He calls it night writing. And it was pretty clever, really. It was a system of 12 raised dots, all arranged in a cell. The idea was that soldiers could just run their fingertips over it and read messages in the dark. No light needed, no giving away your position. Now, this was a brilliant idea for the military. So in 1821, Barbier thinks, hey, maybe this could help blind students too. He takes his invention to a school for the blind, thinking it's going to be a total game changer. And he was on the right track. But there was one massive problem with the system. And here's the flaw. The 12-dot cell was just too big. Think about it. You can't feel all 12 of those little dots with a single fingertip. It just doesn't work. So reading was super slow, really clunky, and just plain difficult. The core idea was great, but the execution? Yeah, it needed a total rethink. And that rethink came from a student in that very class, a teenager named Louis Braille. Louis had lost his sight in a childhood accident. And believe it or not, it happened with a tool called an awl, a sharp leather punching tool. When he saw Barbier's system, he immediately knew it could be something special, but he also saw its big flaw and was inspired to make it better. So Louis Braille just gets to work. He dives deep into Barbier's 12-dot system. He figures out, yep, the cell is definitely too big. And then, and this is incredible, using the same kind of awl from his accident, he starts experimenting, punching dots into paper over and over again, until he lands on the perfect solution, a simple, elegant 6-dot cell. And this, right here, was the revolutionary leap. Going from 12 dots down to 6 was everything. It might not sound like a huge deal, but it was a total game changer. Suddenly, an entire letter could fit perfectly under one fingertip. It turned reading from this slow, painful chore into something quick, easy, and intuitive. I mean, just think about that for a second. A single letter could now be recognized with a single touch. All of a sudden, reading wasn't about trying to decode some complicated puzzle. It was about just feeling a distinct shape. This one change blew the doors wide open to the world of books and knowledge for people who'd been locked out. So you'd think the school would jump on this, right? That they'd celebrate this incredible breakthrough. Well, not so much. In a really frustrating twist, Louis Braille's own school, the place he was trying to help, flat out refused to adopt his new, much better system. Yeah, the road to acceptance was a long one. He published his method way back in 1829, but for decades, the authorities just ignored it. And the really heartbreaking part, Louis Braille died in 1852, just 2 years before his system was finally made official. And you know why it was adopted? Because the students themselves wouldn't stop demanding it. But Louis didn't just give up when the officials said no. He wasn't going to let his invention die. He'd become a teacher at the school, so he just took matters into his own hands. He started teaching his 6-dot code to his students himself. It was this quiet act of rebellion that kept the whole thing alive. And man, did it ever thrive. Once it was finally adopted in 1854, Braille's system exploded beyond that one little school. It created a legacy that, quite literally, we can feel all around us, even today. The impact was just staggering. Braille's code wasn't just about making reading a little easier. It gave the fundamental gift of literacy, and with it, independence, education, opportunity to millions and millions of people all over the world. And his big idea, this concept of tactile information, it's popped up in places he probably never could have dreamed of. Like, have you ever noticed those bumpy, textured tiles on the ground at a train station or a crosswalk? That's called tactile paving. You can think of it as Braille for your feet, helping visually impaired people navigate safely. And if you want to know just how huge his contribution is considered, get this.
His legacy has literally reached for the stars. There is an asteroid, number 9969, that's been named Braille in his honor. How incredible is that? From a small workshop accident to the cosmos.
The story of Louis Braille is just such a powerful reminder of how one person, driven by their own experience, can take a good idea that's flawed and perfect it, changing the world for millions. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What overlooked problem that's right in front of us is just waiting for one person's vision to solve it next?